All right, guest time. Now in the drop zone. Quarter century of golf coverage at SI and Golf Magazine. We've got Alan Shipnuck today. Welcome.
Thank you. Are either of you guys even 25 years old?
We are over 25,
Okay.
both of
26.
us.
So you were like 1 year old, maybe two, when I started on the golf beat. No big deal.
We're pretty young in the golf coverage game, but you entered the career at very, very young, right?
You were younger than us when you wrote your first SI cover story.
Significantly younger.
Yeah.
I don't want to make you feel bad about yourself, but way younger.
You were 21 years old, is that right?
That's right, yeah. My first ever tournament was the 1994 Honda Classic.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I walked to the range, and Steve Elkington was the first guy on the hitting line. Now, we know Elkington's a weird dude, but maybe the most beautiful swing of all time. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget walking towards the range and watching him hit balls. I'm like, oh my God, these guys have really nice golf swings. I didn't realize that he was in, 99th percentile.
This has been a big year for you. So I want to get into 2018 a little bit.
Okay.
Starting with Patrick Reed and the Masters story that swept across the internet.
Right. Well, I did a big feature on Reed for SI a couple years earlier, so I was well versed in the weirdness that surrounds his family and the estrangement with his parents and his sister, and how he's kind of he's made peace with that in a lot of ways. That he's just accepted that they're not part of his life, but they haven't accepted that, and so to win the Masters in Augusta, Georgia, where his family is across town, not feeling welcome to come to the golf tournament, that gave the story its emotional core, right? I mean, you can't write about Patrick Reed winning the Masters and not think about this family that's huddled in front of the TV.
Miles away.
Yeah. And you could not write about the 97 Masters without writing about Earl and Tina, right? It's impossible. So I felt like this, to tell the Patrick Reed story, you had to get into this. And it was authentic, and so I just told the story, and a lot of people appreciated it, and a lot of people were pissed off, and that's how you know you're doing your job, I think.
Have you ever gotten that much feedback from a story that you've done?
The Trump story, right?
The Trump story was a lot of...
Yeah, the Trump story, but no, I remember on Sunday night, because the story posted, I want to say, 9 o'clock or so Eastern time, and all that night and the next day, every time I refreshed Twitter, there was like another, it was incredible. I mean, so never had that much instant feedback. The Trump stuff took a long time to play out, and I got letters, and I got emails, and network news called, but that was over a period of weeks. I mean, the Reed stuff was instant because it just touched a nerve. I think a lot of golf fans are sort of conflicted about how they feel about Reed.
Yeah.
They don't know if they love him or they hate him. They want to know more about him, and so it kind of filled a void. It told the story that people, I think, want to know more about, and so yeah, that story took off. And
I think a lot of people similarly wanted to know a lot about Brooks Koepka, who just won the PGA Championship, his third major in the last 2 years, and you wrote a story kind of telling people about the fire within Brooks Koepka, a fire that you kind of met through one way or another.
Yeah, the Koepka story, that was interesting. Again, I was not eager to interject myself into that story, but it was relevant. And the one thing people want from us is they want to know who these guys are. That's the question you get all the time, right? Yeah. And I think it was very revealing. So it's a long, messy story. People should go to Golf.com and read it. But,
that's right.
Read that shit.
I was about to say that. But the short version is Brooks was mad at me, and
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? So even if someone's mad at me, my job is still ask questions. So I asked him a question at Bell Reeve Sunday night at the Champions Press Conference.
Let's have you imitate the look that Brooks gave you while you were asking this question.
No, well, he didn't. So I raised my hand.
You sort of need a hat for this one.
The PGA of America guy calls on me, and so Brooks sees, and he starts like scanning the room. He takes off the hat. He does the hair. He's like, he's still looking around. And my question was basically,
are you going to get the cred that you feel like you deserve?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hope so. Next
this was
question.
hilarious to watch. Yeah. I'm sorry that he wasn't giving you the respect in that moment.
The next question was the best part.
Yeah. Hope so. Next
I thought
question.
He was going to call on someone else himself. Like, take Tom.
It was kind of funny. I burst out laughing because it was just you couldn't not laugh, and a lot of people in the room did also. It was just so weird. Some folks had been part of this story back at Shipnuck, and so they kind of knew. A lot of folks didn't. So heads are swiveling, like, what is going on here? It was just, again, that was a revealing moment of who Brooks Koepka is. I'm not beefing with Brooks Koepka. He's a little mad at me, but at some point, I'm sure we'll we'll have a meeting of the minds.
Yeah, let's talk about beef though, because I think you've found plenty of beef on Twitter in the past. I don't want to say you have a complicated relationship with Twitter, but a lot of people do. And you think that Twitter's a great source for discussion, banter. You pose questions every single week for your mailbag.
Right.
But one person on Twitter earlier this year screenshotted your handicap. Fooch, this is Justin
yeah, they
Rose's
came at
caddy.
you.
Yeah.
He kind of came at you with your handicap, which is available online. So is mine. It's an 11, but it's not much better. Is that fair game? Is that fair game to be like, you know what, Alan Shipnuck, your handicap is such and such. You don't have the authority to speak on the game like I do.
I think at that moment it was like 7.5, which if you look, I only play about,
It's pretty decent.
I play like 24 rounds a year for a part-time golfer. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But his point was, yeah, he said, oh, the whole tweet was nonsensical. Oh, Rosie and Stenson are going to be scared of you at the Ryder Cup. Well, I'm not really going to play in the Ryder Cup. I'm just going to write about it. So I think my handicap is somewhat irrelevant. But that's like saying, Pauline Kael can't write about the movies because she was never directed a film, or David Halberstam can't write about Vietnam because he never shot anyone in a rice paddy. Like, it becomes a very silly argument.
You got a little flack as well for tweeting out that week a screenshot of a text message from Phil Mickelson. Now you and Phil are you tight? You're close enough to be on that kind of communication?
Yes. Yeah, the whole thing about the screenshot at the Open was silly. Everyone's like, oh, you can't leak private conversations. First of all, it was one word. He said, nope.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation,
No.
it's a word. And if he'd written back to me, oh, my child has diarrhea, I can't do an interview, that's kind of private information. I'm not going to screenshot that.
That would feel gratuitous for you to share that.
However, I approached him. I said, Phil, this controversy is raging. You've dropped out of sight. Would you care to make a comment about what happened out there when you hit the moving ball?
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote back, nope. And I thought that was indicative of his frame of mind at that moment, as the entire U.S. Open is being consumed by this controversy. And so
Irrelevant competitor on Saturday.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a private correspondence. It was a reporter approaching a subject for a comment. To me, that was legit. Now, people are free to disagree. And obviously, anything that's truly personal, I wouldn't put out there. But that was a little different. And it was something that was happening in real time that completely took over the national championship. Yeah. And at that point, Phil was hunkered down in his house. And I thought that it added some insight into what was happening in real time.
So what do you think, what is your approval rating on tour?
It's funny that the more people know me, I think the higher the approval rating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the ones who just get caught in the crossfire of the snarkiness, so I've actually concluded that Twitter's not a helpful medium for me as a reporter. It's really not. I just need to talk less smack, and I think it would serve me better.
All right, let's get you out of here with one final question. We're talking about your stories, a lot of profiles. You've profiled Phil earlier this year. I'm sure if you could, you'd profile Tiger Woods. Let's take Tiger and Phil out of it. Who's the one person in the golf world that you want to profile?
Well, it's probably Bryson. I find
Really?
him utterly fascinating.
Okay.
And I mean, he's going to cut off his ear with a 1-iron. He's going like, it's going to happen.
I love it.
I mean, there's a madness and a genius in there. And so I find that really compelling. If Tiger is interested in you, you're doing something right, because he gets bored easily, right? And I don't think he has much time for the basic guys on tour, right? And so there's something about Bryson that
Piques his interest.
yeah. And so that, if you're a one-man focus group, if Tiger Woods wants to know more about Bryson, then I think everyone else does too.
Bryson, if you're listening, come join us, even with Alan Shipnuck here in the drop zone. Thanks for joining us, Shippy.
You just tore my jeans. Look at that.
I think those were pre-ripped. I'm not sure about that.